So in Bien Hoa, this is where we're at right now. This is my first time getting pho in Vietnam. The bowls are smaller, but they fill you up. In Vietnamese culture, they eat multiple times a day, not just 3 times. I got a pho thai, there was chicken pho, and a bowl of pho is about $2. It was hot, it was very flavorful and delicious. The meat, of course, is always raw when you get a pho thai, and it cooks in the hot broth. I like to eat it a little bit rare, and they made their own sriracha and hoisin sauce. That is just a side of brisket that you can order. We then went with Van's dad to go to Saigon to visit Van's older sister's husband's parents. Yes. It was a warm day, and usually around 1 to 3 p.m. the Vietnamese people usually take a nap. But we came around this time and we had a late lunch. We ate some duck congee. The broth is made from the steamed duck's juices, and it tastes incredible. There is pieces of steamed duck liver, almost like pate, and goy, which is a salad, you could say, and sesame crackers. They make it in this giant vat, and it was really good. I showed this picture to her dad, she loved it. Afterwards, we got 3 snacks, and we ordered it to go, and they got it. We ordered it, and it got delivered to the house, and everything cost less than $6.
Oh, yeah.
Ben really loved it. Yeah. They were like rice paper snacks, and here's me hanging out with their father, making me taste some new delicious foods that he loves. We had banana liquor, which he homemade himself right in there. It was with plantains. And then later on, this is the next day, and with Van's mom, we went back to Saigon to do some more exploring. Right there is a giant building, which is like a very famous, but not famous enough for me to know the name. But it looked really nice. I haven't been here in about like 15 years, and it looks like any other big giant city. Saigon is definitely a place to visit if you want to do a lot of fun stuff. There's so much to do, but I feel like you can get really lost into the city culture, just like any other city. We eventually checked in a 4-star hotel that was Van's private driver, and it was really nice in here. There was a cameraman with a camera crew for some reason. I don't know what they were trying to shoot. And that is a recurve bow. I used to shoot a bow back in the day. And they have a Circle K, which was actually very convenient. Here's some delicious bun rio, one of the best I've ever had. And as we were walking around Saigon, there were a lot of cobblers on the street. Yeah, Van told me that since there's a lot of bootleg shoes, they tend to break quite frequently. The architecture in Saigon is very French influenced, and there is a Vietnam War museum. That's the actual tank that broke in through the president's palace. Very interesting. And these are actual American helicopters and jets and stuff. Since 15 years ago, this place has completely changed, and it looks really beautiful and quite modern. Yeah, it almost looks like a very clean Los Angeles, but they still have amazing street food. Because having so much chairs on the street is actually illegal, they will put little mats down, as you just saw, and people will just sit down and eat. There's this giant park, and of course the Starbucks. We checked out the Starbucks. From my understanding, because there's so much coffee, Starbucks don't do too well. But this location, they're doing really well. There was multiple floors, and that's Grab. That's one of the most popular food delivery apps. And they had so much more different types of food than I have found in the States. And it looked actually pretty good. We then met this lady who was selling flan for her breast implants.
That's her when she put her hand out.
And the cicadas were loud. Oh my gosh. We eventually visited the President's Palace. This was around the 1960s and 70s during the war, and the South was in a war with the North. When the North won, they broke into this area. They kind of took it over and made it a memorial site. It was quite eye-opening seeing how proud the Vietnamese were during this war, and it really took a huge toll on the country. And at the same time, there was this famous singer setting up a stage, as you can see right here, preparing for a show that he was going to do later. The lawn was incredibly beautiful. We walked around the place, and it was originally created by the French, this palace. And then when the Americans took over, they did their American influence, and this was around the 60s, 70s. And you'll see some of the architecture very reminiscent of like how the 70s looked in the US. And this is the second floor, visiting the balcony on the lawn. And there is the guy performing on the stage. And I'll say this, it was incredibly hot inside. It was a very open area. And that is the Vice President's area. Private apartments, just like the States, yeah. And there was a bedroom, and the president back then would stay here, and this was his personal room. Very interesting. I remember back in history when the Americans left, this whole area was completely pillaged, and to see it all renovated and looking really nice was kind of surprising to me. This is the presidential office. Whoa. And the vice president's office. And they definitely had air conditioning back then, and that's what it looked like. Now, as you guys know me being a barber and a hairdresser, seeing that old school 60s blow dryer right here on the bottom right really piqued my interest, and I was like, whoa. Hello. That is the rooftop, and we are on like the 4th story. This is the game room. There was a bar, this circle couch chair thing, which is pretty cool, and a little mahjong table. This is their theater. And this is the rooftop where all the Vietnamese wanted to escape to the States, and they climbed up here. Later on, the North Vietnamese came over and took it over. And we are high up, oh my gosh. And this is the very top. We eventually went all the way down to the bunker. And as you know, a bunker is made for the president when there's big bombings that happen. This is where they would plan their attacks. And it was quite huge. The bunker went pretty deep. And that's the communications area where, you know, Robin Williams would be, "Good morning, Vietnam!" Some old school radios. And the bunker just kept going, and this is the president's bedroom if he needs to go down, and this is the president's war room, and the bunker went even farther down. Fortunately, there was fans and AC because it was so hot. It was like 97 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a cocktail machine. This is their kitchen. And of course, they have to have a souvenir shop. Now these are flip-flops made out of tires. Yes. They had an old school Mercedes, which looked really interesting. And if you ever come here, try to see what I wrote down. Yes, I said, wow, big and historical. And they had this cool theater room where they showed a documentary. There was a second museum area to visit. It was a bunch of photos. It was a museum. That's the French influence. The building wasn't too historical, but gave a lot of insight and information about Vietnam. Yeah, Vietnam fought the Chinese, Japan, and the Americans. A very resilient country. Now you did have to pay a second entry fee for this area. It was air conditioned and really nice, so I think it was worth the visit. Those are some 60s, 70s Vietnamese ladies. The style was pretty hip. And here's the Buddhists. Well, there was this one Buddhist monk who burned himself alive to protest the war. And that is the gentleman who's performing right over there. If you're a Vietnamese person, you'll know that. Here's a couple pictures. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.